It all started with cards and memorization. From the steel mills of Pennsylvania to one of the greatest minds the world has ever seen. Introducing Jim Karol, author, speaker, and mentalist turned memory expert. Jim has been featured on The Today Show, The Ellen Show, Howard Stern, and hundreds of other publications. He has been studied by Florida Hospital for his brain and memory and is a frequent speaker at MIT. Jim has also performed at several USO tours, working closely with our military and wounded warriors.
Working with Jim Karol and spending time with him gives me hope in general.
I call Jim the holy grail of the neuroscience world.
He's now taking his knowledge and skills to the podcast world, interviewing some of the most impressive minds and allowing them to tell their stories about how they beat the odds. Welcome back to Beating the Odds with your host, Jim Karol. On today's episode, we have Dr. Doohi Lee. Dr. Lee is a medical doctor and professional. He's also the medical director of advanced surgical arts, as well as an expert in non-invasive surgery and stem cells. Please enjoy this conversation with Jim Karol and Dr. Doohi Lee.
Okay, hey everybody, we have a very interesting show in store for you today. It's about pain management. And when I was thinking about pain management, I thought, who better to call than a good friend of mine from Texas, Dr. Doohi Lee, and we have him on the air right now. Doohi, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Jim, how are you? Doing great. Great to see you.
How's the weather in Texas?
It's warm.
Yeah.
We're hitting 90-something, 99, and it's supposed to hit 100 and something this week.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah,
Summer is here. Summer is here in Texas.
It's supposed to be 39 tomorrow night here. Geez, I should be moving to Texas.
No, I'd rather come and join you. I think it'd be better.
But so, yeah, it's been a while since I've been down. Doohi, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Like I know when I was down there, you had this big like medical center with SPECT scanning and all that. Oh man, it was just so impressive. You had these big photos of the brain and
yeah. Well, that's certainly a part of what I do. Brain health, and I think we're going to be talking about that today. I wear several hats. I mean, I'm a cosmetic surgeon, so I do a lot of work with beautification, aesthetics, and all those kind of things as well. I do a lot of work with the non-surgical things, including injections and fillers, all the way to full-blown surgery, and so that's a big part of what I do. But I'm involved in a lot of minimally invasive procedures using lasers and hormones, and a lot of work with anti-aging area, and also you mentioned brain health. So that's big part of what I do. I think healthy brain is foundation to great health. Body, mind, body connection, all those kind of things. And I'm sure we'll be delving into that. And certainly in the area of pain management, having a healthy brain is a big part of that, and vice versa. So hopefully we'll develop some ideas in that. So that's sort of an overall kind of work that I do. And I developed some non-surgical, minimally invasive procedures for treating people with weird chronic pain. So this is something that I kind of discovered and developed. God, I think I first started doing this in 2003, 2004. I've done a lot of work with ultrasound. I've been teaching this since 1990, and it's a big part of what I do. And I developed a technique using ultrasound to diagnose origins or the sources of pain that people suffer with for years. I mean, the problem with pain management is often you treat the symptoms, and it's really hard for a lot of pain techniques and pain doctors to get into the true source of pain. And a lot of patients end up just getting treated for the symptoms with spine injections and medications and all these things. But I decided, if you don't treat the source, you'll never get out of that. So that's one of the things I do in pain management.
See, that's amazing. And that's why I thought of you right away. I mean, because we talked about this a few times. Right. And, we talked about a lot of the NFL athletes and things like that suffer from CTE. And like I travel around the world, as you know, with the wounded warriors and And this is so important because everybody I talk to, especially the seniors, when I get down to Florida, everybody, I got this pain, I got that pain, I got this pain. And that's why when I started studying the brain, and the brain and the body, they're like one. It's like you could cure a lot of stuff with your brain. It's amazing. It's and that's why I thought you'd be the perfect guest for this subject matter.
Thank you. Well, we're going to start getting some details of all these things.
Yeah, now, like, as a doctor, like, what's your concept, like, of beating the odds? Like, the name of the show is Beating the Odds. Like, like,
I love that. Yeah. I love that idea, beating the odds. And I think you can look at it from many different aspects, obviously sports, and if you're in Vegas, you're looking at it from gambling point of view and all those kind of things. But for me as a physician, when I start thinking about the concept of beating the odds, it's like, well, okay, so how does it really entail to healthcare and your wellness and things like that, right? So my thought was, if I can help anybody coming in for whatever the problems they may have, if I can help them become stronger, maybe more clear-headed, and just make them overall healthier and stronger with greater immune system, that really is sort of the foundation of beating the odds in terms of health care. Because if you're not healthy, be it the brain or the body, if something happens, it's going to be hard to defeat that illness. You know what I mean? Whether if it's an injury or bacterial infection. Now, we're just going through this COVID-19, this huge pandemic, and all the stuff we're going through with that. The people who are, dying are the elderly and people who are frail, and people have a lot of different medical issues because their body is just not equipped to deal with, an infection of that nature. So my thinking is, what can I do to help somebody get stronger? And thereby they have a fortified system, and that will increase their chance of beating the odds of staying healthy and getting over any kind of infections.
So you kind of like help your patients beat the odds in your work on a daily basis. My gosh.
Pretty much. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways of doing that.
Yes. Now, I know. When was it? I think when I was with you last summer in Dallas,
right?
And you took me out on a town to your wife's sports bar and things like that. And you're telling me all about this thing that you do, the Diamond Matrix. Could you explain to the audience out there? I thought this is really cool. The Diamond Matrix that Doohi is involved with. I think it's a total. I mean, it's almost like my life. It's what you did.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for remembering that. That was a while ago.
Yeah.
So this kind of germinated from all the different things that I do. I mean, as I mentioned, a few things that I do. The other part that I'm very heavily involved in is anti-aging medicine and regenerative medicine. Dealing with hormone balancing, including stem cells and PRP, exosomes, all those kind of things in different areas. But that also includes nutrition and things like that. So having done all these different types of work over the years, I started developing this concept of a sort of a three-dimensional structure that forms a matrix, like an interrelated, concept where all these different points come into play and they're completely interrelated. It's hard to describe this without drawing it, but I'm sure people can kind of maybe imagine it as I'm describing. There's 7 major points that I developed that I think are critical to keep and maintain a person's health. And that is nutrition, lifestyle, emotional and spiritual health, and area of regenerative medicine. Those are 4. And then you have brain health and aesthetic medicine, because that really is an important part of today's society, but also, affects your sense of well-being, your sense of self as well. And then at the core of all of that is what I call sexual health. So these 7 points, I kind of designed it into a diamond. So if you put the 4 points of the first 4, nutrition, lifestyle, emotional, and regenerative medicine as the sort of the middle base, put the brain health on the bottom and aesthetics on top, those will form the top points of the diamond. And the sexual health is at the core. So this forms a 3-dimensional structure that I call the diamond matrix. And every point is important, and they're completely interrelated with every other point in the diamond, especially the brain. I put the brain in the bottom because I thought brain health was a foundational issue. You have to have a very healthy brain. And of course, all the other 6 points feed the brain. And of course, brain as the bottom supports all the other 6 points. So that's the concept that I developed. And of course, we can spend more time delving into that. But it's sort of a culmination of sort of my life's work, and I'm developing even further into a dynamic system that can really help somebody use this to, become better, healthier, and continue to remain healthy.
Yeah, the brain health, that's where we connected right away. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I think
all the work that you do, look at all the stuff you do, it's all your brain. It's amazing. Every time I talk to you, you got something else going on that you developed. I can do this, I can do that. It's like, it's just unbelievable how you developed your brain to the kind of power that you have. It's just fantastic. I don't know anybody like you in the world. So
you just jogged something. I got to tell you this. It just happened. It just happened this morning. All right. Yeah. So my wife gets up 5 a.m. She's an early bird. I get up at 9 every day. I stay up till 1, 2 in the morning studying. So 5 o'clock, the alarm goes off. All right. So she hits it and does her thing, and I'm there trying to fall back asleep, and I can't fall back asleep. So I start redoing my memotation, where I review information that I have memorized. Like
right.
Somebody would think I'm crazy or something if they know what I do. And so I'm there in my head. I'm going like I'm 00100. I'm doing all the zip codes in my head, starting at Springfield, Mass, making it up to Chicago. 60604. And so. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm not falling asleep. And then all of a sudden, I hear my wife come in the room, and it's 9 o'clock. I was sleeping, but I was practicing and thinking I'm awake. What is that? What the heck was that?
That's almost like an out of body experience.
Ooh, that was weird. In other words, here I am studying. I'm getting bored doing all this study, and I'm like, oh man, I might as well just get up. And all of a sudden, I hear she opens the door. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking she's coming back in because it's like 6 o'clock.
Right.
And then here I look, it's 9 o'clock. I was sleeping and studying. Wow,
that is unbelievable. So it's almost like, you're basically fully awake internally because your brain's been active.
Yeah.
But your body is asleep. This is really fascinating. I have to kind of think about that. I tell you, it's interesting because, how I developed this whole concept of the diamond matrix, I developed it in the early morning awaking hours when your body is half awake, half asleep. There's a lot of things going on. You're almost
kind of like now. Yeah.
I mean, it's really amazing. There's a lot of subconscious stuff coming into play, and I was started thinking about, these different points, and I thought, okay, this is kind of interesting. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I started seeing the connections between the nutrition, lifestyle, and all this stuff, and I thought, God, this would be really interesting. And the first concept I came up with was a tetrahedron, because I only had 6 points. It was a tetrahedron. Yeah. And I thought, okay, that's not bad. It's a 3-dimensional kind of symmetric concept, this and that. And so I played around with it for a while, and it took a couple of months. I kept thinking, this is nice, but man, I'm missing something. There's something that's really missing. Because it was a flat bottom tetrahedron. And literally, I'm telling you, I still remember this. I was in the middle of taking a shower, and I kept thinking about, I don't know why, all of a sudden I started thought about emotional and spiritual health as the 7th point. I thought, oh my God, how could I miss this? And then when I came up with that 7th ball, literally, those are the corners of the diamond, then it formed a 3-dimensional diamond, because now I have 7 points to make that. And that's how it came about. But I remember putting this together in my head while I was kind of waking up and dozing, and, this structure started coming to play during that early morning hours. It's really weird how it kind of formed.
Yeah, it is. And your diamond matrix, that takes my ESPN, exercising your brain, positive thinking, proper sleep. And it takes that to a different dimension, like you said. And I love it. I just love it. Like, hey, like what's your educational background and your preference? Like, how did you get into all of this? Like well, how did these experiences how did everything influence your present work that you're doing? Like, how did you get into this?
Well, I mean, I don't want to go back too far, but actually, I started out as a piano major. I was a music major.
Are you serious? Come on.
Yeah. So I started as a piano major. I was at Case Western Reserve, but I was accepted at the Cleveland School of Music. So my first year was I was a piano major, and then when I got there, I realized I started piano pretty late, And I thought, wow, I'm really behind in a lot of these kind of things. And so I thought, well, maybe I'm not going to be a concert pianist. I don't know. Maybe I sold myself a little short or something. But so I switched from piano to biomedical engineering, and that was my graduation, my degree in biomedical engineering. So I stayed and did a little graduate work, and then worked as an engineer for a few years. And I was one of the first MRI engineers in the United States, putting together MRI machines and things like that, and doing some research. And I decided, okay, I like engineering, but I'd rather go and be a doctor. So I went to medical school. So that's how I became a doctor. And after medical school, I started out in surgery, and ear, nose, and throat. I majored in ear, nose, and throat surgery. And so I did my internship and decided I wanted to have more time to play music. So I switched to radiology. I'm just all over the place. I call this the lost soul syndrome. It's like trying to find my So that's how I ended up. I mean, so I have surgery, I have imaging, radiology background, and I did a fellowship in, musculoskeletal imaging and some interventional stuff. And so my work is in, music, engineering, and medicine. And I think that kind of maybe gave me a little bit more of a opening to look at various different things, from artistic side to technical side to scientific side. So when I evaluate different ideas, that's kind of how I, approach it from various different aspects, from, I guess, my background. And from there, I kind of further evolved. I worked as a radiologist for a while. I was in academia, did a lot of research, and that's where the ultrasound came about. I mean, I was teaching and training people how to do the ultrasound, and that's why it became such an important tool, because it really is like a microscope for looking at soft tissue, looking at muscles, tissue, ligaments, nerves. There's no other technique that we have right now that allows you to look at things like that dynamically and figure out and pinpoint the origins of pain. So that's a huge thing that I've done that's helped me with my career and my work. So that's kind of how I developed. And then after working in radiology, I started gradually missing more surgery, because I think that's just at the core, I'm still a surgeon. So I evolved into vein surgery, and gradually that became cosmetic surgery. And I spent years retraining and, retooling myself to learn, surgery and relearn surgery and cosmetic surgery, vein surgery, a lot of minimally invasive stuff. So that's the background. And then in the middle of all that, I decided to go and get a board certified and fellowship trained in anti-aging and regenerative medicine, along with laser surgery and vein surgery and all this kind of thing. So that's kind of how I put together my education background. And so I think having experience in those areas and having some knowledge in those areas is what really allowed me to put together the Dynamic Matrix. Because if I didn't do all this stuff, there's no way I would know even the first thing about nutrition and lifestyle to even think about, let alone brain health, other than from imaging point of view. So doing all these different work and different levels of doing the work and treating patients, and I think really was paramount to be able to develop this concept.
Yeah, that's, I remember, boy, the one trip down there, you introduced me to a martial artist. Johnny Lee. Like, what was he, like a 20th degree black belt in Kung Fu, and he's 70 years old? That was the most amazing. Folks, you got to see this guy. He's amazing. We were at like a grandmaster's celebration, award ceremony or something.
Yeah.
And I'm walking around with Johnny, your cousin or something, and everybody's bowing to him. I'm like, whoa!
He's like one of 10. This is the last I heard.
Yeah,
this was several years ago. He was like one of 10 13th degree grandmasters of Kung Fu in the world. I didn't realize that when the degree went that high, it's like, how could you even conceive of 13th degree or whatever? It's like, how do you even do that? Jeez. But I mean, he is one of the most select groups of martial arts mastery in the world. So he's a friend. I mean, we're close friends.
That's amazing.
He has a studio down the street. So if you live here, go there.
Next time I'm down, you know what I'm doing? Next time I'm down, I am bringing this.
Oh yeah, there you go.
We're talking about pain management today, folks. It doesn't get any better than this. No, I'm not capable of doing it here right now because I don't have it set up. Maybe in the future podcast we'll do this. But now tell me about this, Doohi. Here, I have to ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
I could set this thing. I think the first time I ever did this was on the Tonight Show, and then I did it in the Jackass guys down in New Orleans when I went down there to promote my shock chair.
Yeah.
All right. And for those of you who've seen Jackass 2, I was the guy that threw cards at Wee Man's ass and gave him shocks on the chair. That was me. That's my claim to fame. Oh my gosh. So and then I became this brain guy, the guy that studies the brain. And so now I pulled this out and I did it for Bam down there, and we set it like on a glass table. And being on a glass table, when you set this thing, man, does it make a loud crashing noise without breaking the glass, hopefully. And then if you watch the outtakes of Jackass #2, you'll actually see me and Bam sitting on a sofa. I think Chris was with us, and Bam stuck his hand in. I think he
my God, you
hurt himself. But I did this the first time on the Tonight Show. Like I said, I just bought it out in L.A. Like the producers out there, I had a little fox trap like this, and they were impressed with it because I could stick pencils in it and beer bottles, and it smashes them, and then I stick my fingers in it, right?
God.
So I'm out there, and I buy this, and the producer, his name was Steve Ridgway at the time, he sees this laying in my bag, my duffel bag. And he goes, well, why don't you do that one tonight? I'm going, are you kidding me? I never did it before. I got to practice it first. He goes, yeah, but bigger's better for television. I'm like, what? Yeah. So I said, do you have a glove? Could I at least see how painful it is? They found this like a cobble glove, a real thick glove. And I stick my hand in. They're all watching me. This was like pre-show, all right? And I'm like, 1, 2. I couldn't believe I said. I'm like, boom. And oh, my God, was this so painful the very first time I ever did it, even with this thick glove on. And then one of the lady producers goes, can you do that again? We didn't quite have the right angle. I go, no, I'm not doing it again until the show starts. You know what I mean? So now I'm backstage. What a thrill being on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. That was so awesome. You're backstage, and I hear him, ladies and gentlemen from Clinton, New York, please welcome Jim Karol. When I come out, the energy in that room was beyond belief. And I'm about energy, as Doohi knows. I'm about energy, all right? And the energy somehow pumped me up so much that when it was time to do the trap, all right, first of all, Jay Leno and myself, we had these big safety glasses on, and the whole front 15 rows of the audience had plastic because we stuck a beer bottle in here. This is the same trap, too, from Jackass, from Leno. The beer bottle shattered. It actually went to the back row of the theater, pieces of glass. I mean, that's how powerful this sucker is.
Wow.
Then Jay goes, well, what are you going to do now, Jim? I go, well, Jay, I'm going to stick my hand in this trap. So I stick on this glove, right? And I'm getting ready to do it. And I'm thinking to myself, for the Tonight Show. And I take the glove off. What an idiot. But I was so charged up because the energy in that room was amazing. And all of a sudden I go, bam, and I hit the trap. It shuts on me. It was just complete silence. It was like really, I mean, I even heard some, we won't say what they said, but like, what, is he an effing idiot? You know what I mean? I heard, like, they couldn't believe I actually stuck my bare hand in his bear trap, all right? It's a small bear trap. It's not a big one, but it's still powerful, right? So how the hell does that work? We're talking about pain management. Why was I able to do that on the Tonight Show and not feel an ounce of pain at all? Yet pre-show, it hurt like hell with a big thick glove on. Does this have this energy or this, what do they call that when you build up all?
It's called, number one is, and from martial arts point of view, you know this already. It's called Qi, right? The energy, the vital energy that flows in you. And, like the Star Wars, may the force be with you, right? If you can harness that force, which is basically, universal force or Qi that flows through you, then you can do anything, right? And with your brain work, my God, you must have some amazing amount of Qi flowing through your brain to be able to do the stuff you do. But in terms of something physical like that, I mean, we've all seen martial arts masters, lie on a bed of nails and do all this crazy stuff and get up as if nothing has happened. There's not even a piercing of nail into their skin. And, you know, for like me, I mean, I'm not a martial artist. I mean, if I lie on a bed of nail, number one, I wouldn't do it. Number two, I'll be punctured with all these sharp nails. And these guys lay there, you know, with two sets of, you know, one in front, one in back. And, you know, this is kind of stuff that Master Lee does during his annual Kung Fu demonstrations. He has his disciples come there.
That's why I said I'm going to bring this next time I come down. I got to bring this. Yeah.
They lie in bed of nails and they stick a brick on top and they smash it. It's crazy. Then they get up and there's not a scratch on their bodies because they're harnessing their chi and tightening whatever that they do. And that's probably part of what happened with you. You're so energized. There's so much energy of adrenaline and chi flowing through that you can do this and, you know, still be protected. And that's probably the only explanation that I can have. But
no, and I 1,000,000% believe. I'm a believer now. Trust me, I'm a believer. Yeah. Hey, look here's how it works for me. If it works for me, then I believe. You know what I mean? I'm a skeptic. I'm the biggest skeptic. And like when I did this on the show, I forgot what it was, NBC's Phenomenon. I seen all these emails from magicians around the world. That's a fake trap. It's like, come on. This is a real trap, man. This is not fake at all. Anybody that knows me knows it's not. And ask Bam. Bam will tell you. And John, I think at the end, Johnny Knoxville did it at the end of the Jackass movie. Yeah, this is real. These are not props or anything like that. But getting back to that pain, there's a good tie-in right now. All right. So one of my sponsors for this podcast, Doohi, is they're good friends of mine, and they live out in Utah and Idaho and stuff, and they come out with this thing called Signal Relief.
Okay.
And they're telling me, now listen, I'm a big skeptic, all right, because I'm in the pain, all right, and I worked at the steel mill many, many, many years ago. My life started in the steel mill. The steel mill's a PA. I used to bust my ass down there every day, and I had 200-foot-long angles that must have weighed about 500 pounds apiece. I'd have to lift the end up, put it on this pole, and stack these suckers like that. And my back is like crap. And it's just, and from that and playing sports, flag football, so I just have such a bad back. And sometimes it gets thrown out so much that I'm crooked like this, all right? So, Mike Hammond, the guy that runs the company, he sends me this thing for this patch. In fact, here I have one here. All right, Signal Relief. And this isn't. Hey, I'm not doing this right now to sponsor these guys or anything else. Or endorse them. I'm telling you something like I just said about the trap. Yeah. I don't talk about something unless it's real. Like I had so many people approach me to sponsor me at my shows because I've done over 5,000 shows in my career. You know, at college campuses and everything else. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. It has to be something I believe in, like the U.S. Playing Card Company. I believe in that because I use cards all the time. So, and then I think the one time we had one of the drinks, not a health drink, but like Snapple. So I like Snapple, so I let them sponsor me. But it has to be something I believe in. Now, so they send me these, and it so happens that I'm working out my weight room. One of these podcasts, I'll take you all into my weight room. When you see it, it looks like a high school gymnasium. I have Olympic sets in there and everything. And so I start doing this weightlifting again. Like I said, here I am, 67 years old, and but it's so important. So I'm in there lifting, and all of a sudden, it's not the lifting that hurt me, but I twisted a certain way. You know what I mean? And the sciatic, whatever the heck I pulled, right? And I'm like, oh, man. So next day I go to the chiropractor, and I'm walking like this. And he puts me on the bench, you know, and working me over. He's a good friend of mine. And then he goes, geez, you're going to have to come back a couple times. He goes, I got to straighten you out, this and that. I go home, laying in the ups or knees. Okay. Yeah. It looks like alien technology. It doesn't look like much of anything. All right. And if you want to learn more about it, you know, you can check it out on the website for the podcast. We'll have a link up there. But let me tell you what happened. So I put it on my back, right above where the pain was. And I'm sitting on my favorite chair upstairs watching my favorite TV show every night at 8 o'clock, Star Trek. Okay. With Captain Kirk and Spock, right? So I have it on there, and I'm sitting there watching the show. And about right when it was over, before the other Star Trek came on, Next Generation, I went in the kitchen and made myself a cup of tea. And as I'm making the tea, I'm like, what the hell? I'm making tea, and my back wasn't even bothering me. I wasn't even thinking about the back. It was amazing. It cleared up in, boom, an hour. What the? And then, well, before you came on, I think it was a few days ago, I said, Doohi, I got to send you one of these to see if it, because it works for so many people that I have a good friend, Ken Fisher. He put it on, and he has very, very, very chronic back problems. And I was in with him at when I went down to the Super Bowl to perform down there. We were up at his home visiting in Fort Lauderdale. I said, here, try one of these, right? He goes, none of that stuff works for me, blah, blah, blah. I try CBD oil. I said, but try this. What do you got to lose? Next morning, I get a call. He's out golfing. So it does have, what the heck's in here, Doohi? Why is this working is my point. And I sent you one. Go ahead, tell everybody, what did it do for you, huh?
Yeah, I tell you, I know you talked about this before, and I was like, yeah, whatever,
Yeah, that's what I thought too, yeah. Yeah.
But I got it. When did I get it? I got it yesterday morning. And so I've been dealing with this low back pain for a long time. I never really had any problems, but I'm not going to say the words, but I'll kind of describe it for you. Spent a ton of money on this mattress that you can adjust the tightness. Okay, that's all I'll say.
Okay. I know you. All right, good.
I'm not going to say any more than that. So anyway, I've been sleeping on this mattress for a while, and I don't think it's working. But every morning I wake up with this horrendous low back pain, and I haven't been able to adjust it I call the company and whatnot, and it's just nothing working. So anyway, so I've been, dealing with this, and every day, I just have it. So when it came yesterday, and my right lower side is the worst part. The left side is not as bad, but the right lower side is always bad. Never really settles down. And I massage with a machine and stretch and all that. Anyway, so I put this thing on. I said, okay, well, he sent it to me. What the hell? And they sent with nothing. All I got is a box, no description, no nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, what the hell am I supposed to do with this? And I had to figure out how to stick it on there and, stuck it on my back. And I tell you, literally within 5 minutes, I thought, oh my God, the pain's going away.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. And pain went away. I was walking around. So I wore it pretty much most of the day. I thought, okay, I'm going to switch to my left side now because my left side is bothering me. So I took it off and moved it to my left side. And I tell you, the left side got better, just like the other side. And I thought, okay, so now that I took that off to my right side, is the right side going to stay or is it going to come back? And right side didn't come back. It's weird. And then, I tell you, this morning, so I took it off, I took it off before I came home. I left it at work. So I get up this morning, and I don't know what I did overnight, but I woke up with a really, really sore pain, like a muscle cramp in the back of my right shoulder. And it's like, infraspinatus muscle. And I thought, God, I must have pulled it or stretched it or did something. It was really hurting me. And what was really weird, my low back pain didn't come back. It was the weirdest thing. I mean, it was a little tiny little bit sore or whatever. Okay,
it's amazing. It's amazing. This is
it's
absolutely amazing.
It's like, okay, my back is feeling better, and I got this right shoulder thing. It's like, what the hell's going on? So I came to work, and I took that thing off. The stickiness was gone, so I had to wash it off and try to get it re-sticky again. So I stuck it on my back, and I mean, it's not completely gone, but I still about 60% of it's better. So I'm going to move it to another spot later and see if that's going to make it better. But I was like, this is just the weirdest thing. I don't know. I don't know how it's working. I don't know what that device that they developed, whether it's electronic or it looks like some sort of a metal mesh, some sort of lattice, right?
They told me it was an antenna at one time. I don't want to plug the whole thing. Let people read about it because I'm not an authority on how this works or anything.
I don't think we're plugging it. I think we're just talking about all
I know is it works. That's the main thing. You know what I mean? It works.
This is my own experience. I thought, okay, so I'm thinking about ordering a couple because I deal with a lot of patients with pain problems, and they respond well to my treatments, but not all of them get 100% better. And because nothing's perfect, but they get better. It's okay. Well, we have other stuff we can do. And so I thought, I'm gonna talk to these guys about ordering a couple of these and trying it on a couple of patients. And here, try this and let me know what how it works for you, or if it does work, doesn't work, whatever. But this is really fascinating. And if it's an antenna, what is it? Antennaing, okay.
I think here's what I think. Here's what I feel. now we both know, I mean, for me from studying the brain and you obviously from being a doctor, that like if you stub your toe or something, that instantly goes up your spinal cord to your brain, your amygdala, all these different,
Right.
and boom, and it goes back down and sends some kind of solution to, and it's all within a tenth of a second. All right, all that happens naturally, and because your body needs pain. Pain is how you need to have pain, or else that's the way it works. So, but for this somehow like turns the volume down. I don't know. It's like really where you're putting. Look at my wife. My wife was out sitting on a porch with my daughter. Same thing. She goes, her shoulder. She couldn't lift her arm up higher than this. All right. And I said, why don't you try it? What do you got to lose? She comes in, oh my gosh, it worked. So it does, I don't know what it is, but, and this is not a plug. We're talking about pain management, and this is part of and it just happens to be, it's an honor to have something sponsoring me that I believe in. That's, it's really an honor.
So I need to talk to them about some scientific basis of how this works, because I'm sure they figured something out. And, I'm only thing that I can kind of think of that is similar is, acupuncture, because part of what acupuncture does is it interrupts the signal pathway of pain, right? It also stimulates different nodes in the neurological network to increase some sort of energy transfer and energy flow. So that's like the only thing I can kind of think of that has any kind of a similarity to maybe how this is working, that if you put this device on, as they're describing it as an antenna, that it is somehow concentrating or coalescing your body's flow of energy, the electricity in your body, because there's we definitely have electricity in our bodies, that it is forming some sort of an electrical network maybe, and that's how kind of maybe disrupting the signal flow.
Here's what it says here. It says here, signal works like an antenna for your brain by autonomically enhancing the communication and pain relief process that takes place between your brain and the pain. And it does this by tapping into your body's EMF, that's your electromagnetic
flow, yes.
While passively interacting with your neural network.
Interesting.
Seems to work for me. That's all that matters.
So maybe the way they designed it, I mean, I like to talk to the engineer. We talked about this.
Yeah.
Because, with my engineering background, I'm always thinking some technical, the reason for this is maybe they found some sort of network or mesh that disrupts the EMF. So the signal flow of pain becomes, less to the brain. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else to explain it.
No, and if you want to know more about it, just, go to the podcast site, Jim Karol /podcast, and you'll read more about it. But now let's move on to something else here. Stem cell. That fascinates the heck out of me. Yeah. Tell me about this. Well, I know you're involved with this now. I want to hear more about this. Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Well, then, stem cells is, obviously controversial in many ways, but really I think it's it's not a panacea for everything, but certainly is, let's say, hope for many people who are suffering from a lot of conditions, including pain. But, there's a lot of research going on for neurological diseases like Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, all kinds of different things. And depending on the studies you read things that are almost miraculous. It's like, how could something like this happen? But, they do, and it really is real. So as you know, stem cells, the way when I give lectures on this, stem cells are the building blocks of us. I mean, plants, us, human beings, animals, everything that's alive, running around, it's all from the stem cells. And stem cells are continuous, and they're ever present in your life. So, as you go through a life, you're pretty much rebuilt, several times over, because your whole body changes. You're getting a new liver, new kidney, new heart. All the cells get turned over and you become new over the years. And so if we didn't have stem cells, we would not be alive for much longer, right? So anyway, and what's unfortunate is as you get older, your body's concentration and the amount of stem cells decreases dramatically. So if you're in your 50s or 60s, you're basically carrying maybe 10, 15% of the stem cells you were born with. And as you get older, it becomes less and less. If you're in your 70s and 80s, you're maybe less than 5%. That's in the bone marrow. And what's interesting is the fat deposit is amazing. Is that it has 10 times the concentration of stem cells than the marrow. And we tend to retain our fat as we get older. So for me, it becomes the treasure trove of stem cells in your body. And so when I do stem cell treatments for various reasons, various conditions, 90% of the time I'm going to the fat to harvest the fat cells. And from there, I actually extract the stem cells. And I'm actually transplanting stem cells from fat cells to the areas that you need. Be it joints, sometimes muscles, ligaments. Sometimes I do hair on the head.
Oh, geez, I could use you there.
An IV. So those are many. There are thousands of different ways of doing it, and even spinal injections, all kinds of different ways of imparting stem cells. And the whole idea really is, giving the body or the areas that have been damaged the concentration and the amount of stem cells it needs in order to heal and repair itself. And the reason we heal, not as well as we get older is because stem cell volume and the number is so low that there's just less available to actually create the healing process. Remember when you're young, little babies, you see them, and you have kids and babies, when they injure themselves, like, boom, like literally next day they bounce up, they're running around like nothing ever happened because there's so many stem cells in their bodies, everything gets, treated so fast. It's amazing, right? Mm. But as you get older, you just don't have that reservoir of stem cells to help you. So the idea is when you harvest the stem cells and give a huge concentration, it really enhances that repair process. Now from here, going on with the topic that we are talking about, beating the odds, that's your basis of your podcast. The concept of beating the odds, for me, I think that as we move forward with stem cells, I think the greatest strength of stem cells is in preventive medicine. I really believe that, because the reason for that is this. It's just from just the logical thinking path. Right now, we use stem cells on people with severe chronic disease, okay? People come to stem cells as like the last resort. I've done everything. I've tried everything. Nothing's working. Stem cells are my last resort. I hope it helps. So, okay, well, that's what we do. And of course, there's a certain percentage of success, and sometimes it fails as well. But the whole idea is, why are we waiting until you have bad disease to use stem cells? Okay, your body is continually, degenerating. Illnesses are happening. You don't necessarily recognize it until something happens, right? So there's always a repair process going on in the body all the time. So instead of waiting for that, damage to progress to a point where you have to do something, medicine, surgery, whatnot, why not use that healing power of stem cells while you're still fairly well to prevent further progression of disease? Does that make sense?
No, that's very interesting.
So for me, if you use stem cells in a preventive way, you're still in great shape. You look at you, you're robust and all that, but unbeknownst to you, there may be something going on inside you. This is true of you, me, everybody else, that things may be happening that if it does not get resolved, may progress to illness or disease or something bad. So while you're still healthy, give an influx of stem cells. Let it find its way to wherever it needs to get done and do its repair and to continue to maintain. So I think that is probably the ultimate way to keep your body and your brain and everything that goes with it as healthy, as optimized as possible. And that really is the ultimate way to help you beat the odds. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And when I think about role of stem cells, that's kind of how I see it.
How about inflammation? I mean, inflammation causes probably, from what I've read, like most of the diseases.
80-90% of disease cause inflammation. Well, I mean, stem cells by nature is anti-inflammatory. So if I give stem cell injection to an infected or inflamed joint, like rheumatoid joint or osteoarthritis, so even though osteoarthritis is supposed to be non-inflammatory, there is an inflammatory component because of the disease process. First thing it does is it reduces pain. It has a huge anti-inflammatory effect on the area that you give, treatment to. So that's the first thing it does. And then it settles down and goes in and works with your cells to do the repair work. But first thing it does is to reduce inflammation. So yeah, if you give a huge dose of stem cells that goes all over your body, think of what it does. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
So like how do you see yourself like evolving like in the next 5 years? Is it going to be like stem cell? Is it going to be your SPECT scanning? Like where do you see yourself?
Well, I think I'm going to develop that diamond matrix.
Oh, that is awesome.
I mean, because that combines everything that I do. And I mean, when people talk to me and I explain to them what I do, people look at me as like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why don't you just concentrate on one or two things, Yeah. So when they hear the diamond matrix and they realize the significance of all those different points, then they realize, oh, now I get it, because you're putting all these points into one cohesive whole. And that's why the matrix makes sense. And once people hear that, then they don't think I'm not such a nutso, crazy person trying to do all these different things. But,
count me in. I want to be your partner with that diamond matrix.
Oh yeah, definitely. God, that'd be great.
No, this sounds really good. Yeah. Hey, how about a message to the audience in closing here? Like how can they maximize like their chances to beat the odds? Like maybe some people are hurting right now and in pain and not knowing what to do. And you're one of my best doctors, friends that I have, and what do you think they could do there?
Well, I think number one, read and get educated, and really learn about just fundamentals of health. I mean, number one is nutrition. I mean, if you don't eat good food, healthy food, prepared in a healthy way, along with good vitamins and all those kind of things, then you're setting yourself up for destruction, because if you can't get nutrients in, your body's not going to function. Just purely as a biological, beings that we are, you got to have good nutrients, and then you got to make the nutrient work. So, like you're working out all the time. Exercise and healthy lifestyle is tremendously important. Those are the first two things that I talk to my patients about. It's like you got to start with ABCs, and these are your first ABCs, and then that's going to help get a better handle on issues with maybe emotional imbalance. And certainly you got to have good nutrition to help your brain. And as your brain gets healthier, it feeds back and also affects the rest of your body to become healthier. So those are the first easy stuff that I can tell patients to say, think about your basics, think about what you eat, how you eat, and just your basic lifestyle. If you can start to optimize that and make that easier.
You just gave me a fantastic idea, man. Hey, my ESPN thing, exercise your brain and body, S for proper sleep. Nobody, I don't care who you are, you get 2-3 hours of sleep, it's going to catch up on you, right? P, my main thing, positive energy. And then in the end for nutrition, ESPN will lead to the diamond matrix.
Exactly. You're absolutely
and
right.
Reading is exactly right. I read every night. Harvard site, MIT site, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic. That's why I wrote the book, man. Ultimate Memory Magic. You want to read? That's a good book to get started.
There you go.
But you're right. Dr. Doohi Lee, man, you are the freaking most awesome dude I know, man. Thank you so much for coming on here, man. It's a pleasure talking with you as always. And my God, this is awesome. Thank
you so much for having me on. It was great to spend some time with you, and you always astound me with all the stuff you do. Every time I talk to you, you got something new going on. All the stuff you do with the brain. I'm telling you, having the brain, it's amazing to hear all the stuff you do, because I keep thinking, well, he hit the bar now. That's it. And then you come up with something new. It's like I'm doing something else. It's like, oh my God, how much further is this going to go? And I mean, talking to you and thinking about it, it's just really an inspiration to really understand the capacity of the brain, and that's possible, and the work that you do to expand that is really inspirational. And I'm so glad we can work together and talk about this.
Thank you. And I can't wait to get out of the basement, and instead of doing these virtually, I'd rather have in studio people sort of showing my stuff, and really, it's a heck of a lot easier. But this is better than nothing. At least we get a word out and we can help some people, that'll be really cool. But thank you so much again, Doohi. It's a pleasure as always, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. And wow, we got a future here set up. I mean, the guests are just piling in like crazy, and we look forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beating the Odds. Today we had Dr. Doohi Lee. Up next, we're going to be having Michael Linnington from the Wounded Warriors Foundation, so please stay tuned for that one. Don't hesitate to visit jimkarol.com/podcast for more information on all of our guests, YouTube as well for the video version of this podcast. You can see a little bit more in depth on those tricks that he's doing. Also, visit signalrelief.com and use promo code MEMORY, the specific code only for Beating the Odds listeners. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.